Most people believe heaven is a far-off place, a world we'll go to after death. But what if I told you, heaven is not a destination. Heaven is God's activity. And what happens when God's activity changes its location, moving from temples of stone into the lives of people? Tonight, a story of prophecy fulfilled, where judgment came, salvation broke through, and love revealed itself in the most unexpected way. A true horror story, until you see heaven for what it really is. There was a village, forgotten, fearful, waiting for God's promises, but haunted by dread. Prophecy said, one would come to embody heaven's will. Not a priest in a temple, not a king in a palace, but a vessel through whom God's activity would break into the world. And then he appeared. A man, quiet, solemn, yet radiant. His words came in parables. His eyes carried both sorrow and peace. Some called him chosen. Others whispered he was cursed. From birth, strange signs surrounded him. Bells rang with no hand. Storms broke in silence. From the very beginning, it was clear. Heaven was moving. God's activity had shifted. But was it for blessing or judgment? Soon, signs appeared. Children dreamed of a house filled with light. Livestock fell dead without cause. Shadows walked through the streets at night. And the man spoke. When your days are fulfilled, a house will be built. Not of stone, but of heaven's activity. He that blesses you shall be blessed. He that curses you shall be cursed. The words cut through the village. And then, the first judgment. A man who mocked him disappeared. His home was empty, save for claw marks on the door. The people trembled. Was this love? Or was this wrath? They didn't yet understand.
I see
Heaven
you.
had moved, and judgment comes first. The strange events multiplied. The old church bells tolled at midnight with no one near. Doors slammed shut. Candles flared on their own. Some swore they saw shadows kneeling in the aisles, praying aloud. But in the midst of dread came hope. A woman, dying, touched the man's garment and lived. Children, who had never spoken, whispered words only heaven could give. Love never fails. Love never fails. The village shook with fear, but also with longing. They saw judgment. They tasted love. They began to wonder, was this horror or salvation? Do you think heaven's activity can look terrifying before it feels like love? One morning, near the graveyard, a house stood. No builder had laid its stones. By daylight, wood and stone. By night, a pulsing glow. Inside, tombs carved with words, the wages of sin is death. But written above them, love covers a multitude of sins. Some who entered never returned. Others emerged different, at peace, eyes glowing with faith. The man stood at the threshold and whispered, "This house is heaven's judgment to some, and heaven's salvation to others. For heaven is God's activity, and now his dwelling is here." The people gasped. Was this the horror of death, or the arrival of heaven itself? Thunder cracks. Door slams. Whispers echo. Repent. Repent. On the final night, the storm broke. Lightning split the sky. The ground shook. The man walked into the house alone. The doors closed. Inside, walls bled with words. Repent. Repent. Love never fails. The tombs split open, but they were empty. And a voice roared like thunder. This is the changing of God's location. Heaven is not far away. Heaven is my activity, moving from judgment to salvation, from death to life. And in that moment, the man vanished in radiant light. The storm stilled, and the people stood in silence, until a child whispered, "We are the house now. Heaven is here." The next morning, the house was gone. Only an empty field remained. But the people knew. Heaven had not vanished. It had moved into them. Heaven was not a place they would one day travel to. Heaven was God's activity, judgment that revealed sin, salvation that rescued them, love that would never fail. And heaven's new dwelling was their very hearts. The horror had been real. The judgment had been real. But greater still was the salvation. Greater still was the love. Engagement. Prompt. What do you think? Is heaven somewhere you go when you die? Or is heaven God's activity alive on earth? Subscribe and turn on the bell, because the next story may already be closer than you think. And comment below. Where have you seen heaven? Not far away, but breaking into your own life.